America, my name is Osei-Frimpong. I come to you live try to do it Monday and Thursday. Today's a Tuesday show. Early in the week, I try to do more of a relationship show. The later the week show, the Thursday show, try to do more politics. Today I'm going to talk about the right to hate. It's not obvious that there's a right to hate, but it's also not obvious that there's a right to love, right? So insofar as we support love in all of its forms, we should support hate in a more kind of expansive way as a mode of freedom. And if people can control who you can hate and why, they could also control who you have to be nice to and why. And I say this in the wake of, for example, the University of Pennsylvania president getting bounced because she offended too many prominent Zionists. And I actually think I can expand that out. She offended too many prominent Jews. And the billionaires got to her and they got her removed. And so people aren't allowed to hate Zionists, even as the Zionists support a state that's perpetrating a genocide or an ethnic cleansing. So you're not allowed to hate. And if you can't hate ethnic cleansers, I don't know. That's not a great look, right? So, and it's not as if this is a hate neutral stance and we just hate all hate, and we disallow all hate. But really, it's a hate against a partisan group. You want us to hate Hamas, but not hate the IDF. And what if I don't like either? Or I don't want to be casual about not liking either because they're both like a world away. I should be allowed to casually not like the IDF and say that Israel does not have a right to be a state. It doesn't have a right. No state has a right to be. I don't know. You don't have a right to exist. It's a contested nation. You have to work it out. That's the way contested nations should work. There is no, if you can't secure that right, then you don't have the right. So I don't understand why that's that complicated. People say, you don't think that Israel has a right to exist? No, I don't have a right to exist. Why do Jews get their own ethnic state? Why would I don't understand the argument. Anyway, so you have to be free to hate, because if they can control who you're allowed to hate and publicly hate, they can control who you're allowed to like and publicly like, and who you have to be nice to. So this is actually the anti-hate legislation and the anti-hate policies are actually being targeted to preserve elite power, because elites are the ones who decide who it's appropriate to hate. You can hate Putin. You can hate Hamas. You can hate the Taliban. Notice all these. Yeah. So all these people you can hate. You can't hate Pelosi. You can't hate. You can hate Bibi, but you can't hate the Israelis. Although, look, the Israelis support the current genocide. So I think Bibi's just the Netanyahu is the bad man front face of a regime that supports ethnic genocide and the people who support ethnic genocide. I've read only 1.8% of Palestinians, 1.8% of Israelis. This might be Jewish Israelis. 1.8% of Jewish Israelis think that the IDF is using too much force. So insofar as the government doesn't represent the people, in this case, the government pretty much represents the people. Like, they don't like Bibi's boorishness, and they're not a huge fan of his judicial reform, and they don't like the fact that he's unpopular and unseemly about it, but they like what he's doing. They just wish he could do it with a nicer veneer, sprinkle some perfume on that. And so I should have the right to talk about, like, Israel doesn't have a right to exist. I should have the right to talk about, honestly, I should have the right to talk about insofar as normie, regular, everyday, casual American Judaism is shot through with Zionism in the practices. Then I should have a right to talk about maybe it's the case that American Judaism is a terrorist organization, or at least a foreign agent, instantiations of foreign agency in the United States that have in an ideological project to suborn the interests of the United States in support of Israel, right? I would like that congressional hearing where we just bring up like a lot of prominent rabbis and say, or, just a random smattering of American Jews and say, when and where were you taught to form an allegiance to Israel on a par with your allegiance to the United States? Just as a matter of curiosity. Because if it is, it's not just that the synagogues might be political action committees in the same way I thought that the LDS Church was a political action committee in terms of gay marriage. Just one big pack. But in terms of, it's not just a political action committee, it's a political action committee on behalf of a foreign government. This is something I would like to see. This is something I would like to see a congressional hearing on. I would be in support of that, just to hear when were you taught to align yourself with Israel as much or more than your allegiance to the United States, a state that you vote with, the state that we all share power in, the state that secures these rights as an American. I would like to hear. I think we'd have some very interesting discussions. In the worst case scenario, then we would just have to fill out different paperwork and register these groups as foreign agents, right? Foreign institutions. We have foreign institutions operating in the United States. That's fine. We would just have to register a lot of these synagogues as that, insofar as they are agents of a foreign nation. And anytime that foreign nation asks them to snap to, those their satellite groups in the United States will snap to, in which case they're agents of a foreign government, which is fine. We can just register them as such. I would like that congressional hearing, right? So we need to talk about how policing hate isn't just saying, oh, well, if we police hate, what'll happen is the hate will go underground. The hate won't go away. It will just go unregulated. That's the standard argument. The hate won't go away. It'll just remain. It'll just in unregulated forms. That's a standard argument. I don't think that's the best argument. I think the better argument is that if we start policing hate this stringently, what that actually does is calcify the explicit conventional hate, like where it's appropriate to hate. It takes out of context the boundaries of hate. So it's still appropriate to hate Putin. It's still appropriate to hate Hamas. It's still appropriate to hate Nazis unless they're aligned with the Ukrainian government, and then it's okay to then it's inappropriate to hate Nazis. It's still appropriate to hate all of these, the poor, honestly. And this is one thing that Occupy kind of shook up. They were hating the wrong people. So what's really at stake is the boundaries of who it's appropriate to hate and contesting those boundaries and who gets to contest those boundaries. Right now, we can only hate the people the elites want us to hate. We can't contest the boundaries of who we're allowed to hate. So on Democrats, you're allowed to hate Trump. You're not even allowed to like Trump. Like, I actually don't think he's the worst guy. He's not even the worst president in my lifetime. So contesting the boundaries of who you're allowed to hate is what's at stake in this anti-hate legislation. Because it's not as if they don't want you to hate. Our politics lives and almost has to live through contest and like not liking the programs of others. And insofar as we have a military, we need to occasionally kill people, and we need to not like the people we're going to kill for reasons. Like there's something called a justifiable hate. And what the anti-hate legislation does is take the contestation about what constitutes a justifiable hate away from the public sphere. So now the people who decide what constitutes a justifiable hate are removed from public accountability. And the barriers of justifiable hate are now external to public discourse. We just have to take them from elites. And if you notice, it's not going to be appropriate to hate elites now. So there's a lot at stake in this policing hate. So I'll go through the argument one more time. The standard argument is that you shouldn't police hate because then it doesn't actually get rid of hate. It just drives the hate underground in unregulated spaces. That is a weaker argument. The stronger argument is that we really shouldn't be so stringent in policing hate, because what we really do in that is calcify the standing regime of hate, and we take out of the realm of contestation the boundaries of who we're allowed to hate and why. Right? Because that's what's really being contested in the public sphere in these Justice for Palestine groups. It's we're not allowed, we have to hate Palestinians and we're not allowed to hate the IDF, when it's perfectly appropriate to hate either both or just the IDF, or that's a realm of contestation that should be allowed for contest, right? Because the IDF is killing people right now. So we should actually be allowed to contest whether they are the bad guys. But if we're not allowed to contest whether they are the bad guys and actually feel and speak strongly that they are the bad guys, then you are policing our political action by policing our hate speech, because we're not allowed to actually hate the IDF, and they are performing a political project. Right? So the big worry is the elite capture of who gets to hate and how that gets removed from public contestation. In a well-ordered world, in a well-ordered democracy, people get to work out who the nation hates in a public sphere. And so you're trying to take away the autonomy of people who are trying to decide who they get to hate. And you're saying that they can only hate in a certain way. And that's not different than saying that they can only love in a certain way. Thank you for your time. And I will talk to you on Thursday to talk about something completely different. Take care. Bye.